If you thought World War II was bad, just wait until you see what happened in World War Z. What if there was an undead army so large that it threatened to engulf the world? That's the question posed by Paramount Pictures' World War Z, starring Brad Pitt as Gary Lane, a former United Nations employee who's brought back to the agency to find the source of a zombie plague that's rapidly spreading across the globe and to find a way to stop it before it's too late. There are some massive action set pieces along the way with tons of zombies. The movie is based on the novel of the same name by Max Brooks, but don't expect the film to follow the book very closely because they only have the same title and a few character names in common. So what's going on here? Well, let's see if we can break it down. And to help us out, here are 9 things you didn't know about World War Z. Number 9. The world is ending. Yeah, pretty much from the get-go. We know that the world is ending. So there isn't really any mystery to be solved or questions that need answering other than how things get to this point and what happens next. It's all about the ride. We know the world is ending. We know the world is ending. We know the zombies are coming. And that's why the first 5 minutes of the film feature an intense sequence of a family trying to escape a horde of zombies in Philadelphia while news reports in the background tell us that the entire city has been quarantined. It doesn't take a genius to figure out why. There are hordes of flesh-eating zombies running around the streets, killing anyone they come across. The military tries to set up a perimeter and fight back, but they aren't prepared for the sheer number of undead. The zombies overrun the soldiers and consume them, and then they move on to the next building, continuing the cycle. We quickly learn that no one is safe. This is a global pandemic and it's moving fast. And now that we know that the world is ending, we meet our hero, Gary Lane, who's played by Brad Pitt. At the start of the film, he's just a regular guy living a regular life, driving his kids to school, having dinner with his wife, just another guy trying to get by in this crazy world. But when the government finds out that he used to work for the United Nations, specifically in the zombie department, they recruit him to travel the world and find the source of the outbreak so that they can develop a cure. No, 8. A familiar face. If you were a fan of the TV show Lost, then you might recognize one of the actors from the series as World War Z. Features the late great Michael Emerson in a key role as Dr. I.I. Fay, a brilliant but somewhat unhinged scientist who believes that humanity is unfit to survive and that the Earth would be better off without us. He is the one who gives Gary the theory that there is a hive mind controlling the zombies and that they are actually one organism instead of individual creatures. Now, unlike Lost, which unfortunately never followed through on this idea, World War Z embraces the concept of the hive mind, which is probably for the best. No. 7. Maximum carnage. As far as zombie movies go, World War Z takes the cake for featuring the most zombies on screen at once. In fact, Guinness World Records officially recognized World War Z for breaking the record for most zombies in a film, overtaking the previous record holder, Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead remake. How many zombies does it take to break a record? Well, it takes 500 of them, to be exact. And this is something that the filmmakers wanted to achieve because they felt like zombie movies had become stale and they wanted to bring back the spectacle of them. Director Mark Foster said, "I wanted to make a big, epic movie, something that would have huge scale and scope again, because I think the last couple of zombie films have been quite low budget, of course, with a reported production budget of $190 million. World War Z certainly wasn't low budget. And in addition to the zombies, the movie features some massive action set pieces as well, such as the aforementioned opening sequence in Philadelphia, as well as an attack on a refugee camp in the Korean peninsula and a mission to stop a cargo ship carrying weapons from docking in Moscow. No. 6. Going viral. Speaking of bringing back the classics, World War Z also brings back the classic zombie movie trope of people turning into zombies after being bitten by another zombie. This may sound like a basic element of a zombie story, but the idea was actually abandoned for a while in favor of zombies being caused by a virus that's transmitted through the air. However, after the success of 28 Days Later, which featured infected people turning into zombies known as the rage virus, filmmakers decided to go back to the classic route. Producer Pal said, "I liked 28 Days Later, but I didn't want to do that same thing. I liked the idea of people being infected by a bite, and the visual of that bite and that wound becoming infected and spreading was really cool." This goes back to the days of Romero's Night of the Living Dead, which first established the concept of a bite turning you into a zombie, and it's a concept that's stuck around ever since. No. 5. The real world. While World War Z is certainly a movie based around zombies, it doesn't ignore the real-world implications of such a catastrophe. After all, it is called World War Z, and the movie makes it clear that the conflict would have major consequences for the world at large. In fact, it was this aspect of the film that attracted Pitt to the project. He said, "It's not just mindless zombies, it's got teeth and it's got intelligence, and it deals with the intelligence of the human race. It's a big canvas." One of the most interesting aspects of the film is how it examines the breakdown of society as we know it and the lengths that people will go to in order to survive. From the desperate parents trying to escape the zombies in the opening scene to the scientists working tirelessly to find a cure, the characters in World War Z are all trying to do what they believe is right for humanity, even if their methods are sometimes questionable, not so biblical. You may have noticed the title of the film and thought to yourself, hey, that sounds like the title of a book in the Bible, and you'd be right. The book of Revelation in the Bible talks about something called the War of Gog and Magog, which says that one day a great army from the north of Israel will march against it, but they'll be defeated by a force sent by God. So where did the filmmakers get the idea for the title of the film? Well, it turns out that it was actually inspired by a completely different book, The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. Director Foster said, "When I read the Wells book, I realized it was kind of a blueprint for modern science fiction. It's a very important book and I loved it as a kid. And so I thought maybe we could take some of those ideas and mix them with zombies." No. 3. Fast and loose. Zombies aren't exactly known for being the brightest creatures on the planet. They're usually portrayed as mindless, shambling corpses that are driven by a single-minded hunger for human flesh. However, in World War Z, the zombies are much more intelligent than your average undead. They're able to coordinate attacks and even form a kind of army. And they're fast, very fast. This is a departure from the traditional depiction of zombies as slow-moving, decaying corpses, and it adds a new level of danger to the film. For example, during the attack on the refugee camp in South Korea, the zombies are shown to be able to climb over a double-layered fence with ease, indicating that they're stronger than your typical zombie. And in the final battle between the humans and the zombies, the infected are shown to be able to outrun human vehicles, suggesting that they're faster than your typical undead. This new take on the zombie is both terrifying and exciting, and it really raises the stakes in World War Z. No. 2. More than brains. While the zombies in World War Z are definitely deadly, they're not just mindless eating machines. They have a hierarchy, and they seem to be driven by some kind of hive mind. This makes them even more formidable opponents for the humans, as they are able to strategize and plan their attacks in ways that traditional zombies simply couldn't. But it also makes them more interesting as characters, if you can call them that. We get a sense that there's more to these zombies than meets the eye, and that they're not just mindless flesh-eating creatures. In fact, there's a scene in the film where Gary manages to communicate with one of the zombies, and it seems to indicate that the creatures are aware of their surroundings and what's going on around them. This is a radical departure from the traditional depiction of zombies, and it really makes them stand out from other films in the genre. And no. 1. The real reason for the outbreak. In the end, the outbreak is revealed to be the result of a group of scientists trying to create a vaccine for a deadly virus, but they accidentally create a zombie virus instead. This is a pretty standard zombie movie plot device, but it's still effective in World War Z. It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of playing God, and it is also a reminder that even the best intentions can lead to disastrous consequences. But it's also just a fun way to explain how the zombie apocalypse happened, and it is a nice touch that the film uses flashbacks to show how the virus was created and how it spread around the world. This really helps to flesh out the story, and it gives the film a bit more depth. Now, if you want to know more about the end of the world, then check out some of these other videos.